Admiral Jin-Ho Kim stood in the center of the great chamber and tried not to show his nervousness. The room was massive, carved from a single piece of crystal that seemed to glow with its own light. Above him, arranged in a perfect circle, sat the representatives of 47 alien species. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that Jin-Ho still had trouble believing they were real living creatures. He had been standing here for 3 hours now. Ambassador Hannah Park stood beside him, her face calm and professional. But Jin-Ho knew her well enough to see the tension in her shoulders. They had both waited 50 years for this moment. Humanity had waited 50 years. The council leader rose from its seat. The creature was 12 feet tall, made entirely of living crystal that shifted colors as it moved. Its voice echoed through the chamber without needing a mouth to speak. The Galactic Council has reviewed Earth's petition for full membership. We have considered your species for 5 decades. We have watched your progress. We have studied your history. We have debated your future. Jin-Ho felt his heart beating faster. This was it. 50 years of following every rule. 50 years of sharing technology and resources. 50 years of proving that humanity deserved a place among the stars. Ambassador Hannah had told him this morning that she was confident. The vote would be a formality, she said. Just a final stamp of approval. The council will now vote, the crystal being announced. One by one, lights appeared above each representative's seat. Jin-Ho watched them carefully. Blue meant yes. Red meant no. White meant abstaining from the vote. The first light appeared. Red. Jin-Ho's stomach tightened, but he kept his face neutral. One no vote didn't mean anything. There were 47 species on the council. Another light. Red again. Then another. Red. Jin-Ho watched in growing horror as more and more red lights filled the chamber. Blue lights were supposed to dominate. That's what all the diplomatic back-channel communications had suggested. That's what Ambassador Hannah's contacts had promised. But the lights kept coming. Red, red, red. When the final count appeared above the chamber, Jin-Ho felt like someone had punched him in the chest. 43 votes against. 4 abstentions. 0 votes in favor. Not a single species had voted for Earth. Ambassador Hannah's face had gone pale, but she stepped forward. Council leader, there must be some mistake. We've fulfilled every requirement. We've followed every protocol. There is no mistake, the crystal being interrupted. Its voice was cold and final. The council has made its decision. Earth is denied membership. Furthermore, humanity is hereby designated a quarantine species. You are forbidden from leaving your home solar system. All human colonies beyond the Sol system must be evacuated and abandoned within 1 standard year. The chamber erupted. The human delegation behind Jin-Ho started shouting. Some of the alien representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Others looked satisfied. Jin-Ho felt rage building in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. He was a fleet admiral. He had commanded ships in combat situations. He could handle this. Why? He asked, his voice cutting through the noise. Give us a reason. We've done everything you asked. The council leader's crystal body flickered. Your species advances too quickly. In 50 years, you have achieved what takes most species 500. Your expansion is aggressive. Your history is violent. Your capacity for warfare is unmatched in recorded galactic history. That's exactly why you should want us as allies. Not enemies, Hannah said quietly. We do not want you as either. Another council member spoke up. This one looked like a floating jellyfish surrounded by electricity. We want you contained. You are too dangerous to join the galactic community. This vote is final. Jin-Ho looked around the chamber. He saw fear in some faces, disgust in others. But mostly he saw relief. They were scared of humanity, and now they had voted to lock Earth away forever. You realize what you're doing, Jinho said slowly. We have 12 colonies outside the Sol system. 300 million people. Without access to the quantum fuel network that you control, those colonies will die. You're not just rejecting us. You're sentencing millions to death. Those colonists can return to Earth, the council leader said. You have 1 year. It's not possible to evacuate that many people in 1 year. You know that. Then you should not have colonized so aggressively before receiving full membership. Ambassador Hana stepped forward again. Her voice was shaking now, not with fear, but with fury. For 50 years, we've played by your rules. We've been patient. We've been peaceful. We've shared everything we have. And this is how you repay us? With a death sentence? This meeting is concluded, the council leader announced. The human delegation will leave the station within 6 hours. All human vessels must return to the Sol system within 30 days. Any human ships found outside your solar system after that line will be destroyed. These terms are non-negotiable. The crystal being turned and began to leave. The other council members followed. Jinho stood frozen in the center of the chamber. Around him, the human delegation was in chaos. People were crying. Others were shouting angrily at the departing aliens. Someone was already on a communicator, trying to reach Earth. Ambassador Hana turned to him. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying. They've made a terrible mistake, she whispered. Yes, Jinho agreed. They have. What do we do now? Jinho looked up at the empty seats where the council members had sat. He thought about the 300 million humans in the outer colonies. He thought about Earth being locked away like a prisoner. He thought about every species in that chamber, looking at humanity with fear and disgust. We go home, he said quietly. We tell our people what happened here. And then, he paused, choosing his words carefully. Then we make sure the council regrets this vote for the rest of their existence. Hana looked at him sharply. Jinho, we can't go to war with the entire galaxy. I'm not talking about war, Jinho said. He started walking toward the exit, and the rest of the delegation followed. I'm talking about making them realize that humanity doesn't need their permission to exist. They voted to contain us. They voted to make us go away. They're about to learn that humans don't disappear quietly. As they left the chamber, Jinho pulled out his communicator and sent an encrypted message to Earth. Just 3 words. Activate Project Silence. On Earth? In a facility buried 3 miles beneath the surface, Dr. Tai-Ho Yoon received the message. He had been waiting 50 years for this moment, hoping it would never come. But he had prepared anyway, because that's what humans did. They hoped for the best and prepared for the worst. He entered his access code and spoke clearly to the computer. Authorization Tai-Ho Alpha 9. Begin Project Silence Protocol. All phases. Around the world and throughout the Sol system, systems came online that the Council didn't know existed. Ships that were supposed to be civilian transports activated military-grade weapons. Colonies that were supposed to be evacuating instead began fortifying. Research facilities that were supposed to be studying peaceful. Technology began producing weapons that the galaxy had never seen. The Council had voted against. Earth. They thought they had 1 dot. They had no idea what. They had just started. 3 months had passed since the Council's vote, and the galaxy was watching Earth very carefully. Every major species had intelligence assets monitoring human activity. They all wanted to see if humanity would actually comply with the quarantine order. Everything they saw told them that humans were cooperating. Fleet Admiral Jinho. Kim issued orders for all military vessels to return to the Sol system. The great warships that had been patrolling the outer colonies began their journey home. News broadcasts showed them arriving back at Earth, one by one. The Council's observers counted each ship and confirmed their return. Ambassador Hannah Park appeared on galactic news channels, giving interviews where she expressed disappointment, but promised that Earth would respect the Council's decision. She looked tired and defeated. The observers reported that human morale was broken. The colonies began evacuation procedures. Ships departed from the outer settlements, apparently carrying refugees back to Earth. The Council watched the orbital traffic and nodded with satisfaction. Humanity was leaving peacefully, but Captain Yuna Choi knew the truth. Because she was part of it, she stood on the bridge of her ship, the Shadow Runner, and watched as another evacuation vessel departed from the colony on Kepler 442b. The ship's official manifest said it was carrying 15,000 colonists back to Earth, the Council's long range. Sensors would confirm that the ship left the colony, traveled toward Earth, and then disappeared from tracking. As it entered the Sol system, what the Council's sensors couldn't detect was what happened after the ship disappeared. Ghost. Drive is engaged, her navigator reported. The transport has gone dark. Council sensors show nothing. Yuna smiled. Excellent. Where are they actually going? Deep space coordinates Delta 7. They'll join the others at the hidden facility. This was happening at every colony. Ships appeared to be evacuating people back to Earth, but they were actually relocating to secret bases that the Council didn't know existed. Engineer Minho Bay had spent 5 years developing the Ghost Drive technology. It made ships completely invisible to every sensor system in the known gala. The Council thought humanity was retreating. In reality, humanity was hiding. On Mars, Dr. Taiyo Yoon walked through a massive underground facility that had taken decades to build. The tunnel stretched for miles beneath the red planet's surface. Rows of ships lined the walls, each one equipped with weapons that the Council had never seen before. Status report, Taiye said to his assistant. The quantum drives are operating at 98% efficiency. We've reverse-engineered everything we learned from Council technology and improved it. Our ships are now faster than anything in the galaxy. And the weapons? The railguns are ready. The plasma cannons are online. The quantum missiles are in final testing. The assistant paused. Doctor, are we really going to use these? Taiho looked at the ships. Each one was painted black, designed for stealth operations. The Council sentenced 300 million humans to death. They expected us to just accept it, to die quietly. He turned to his assistant. We're not going to die, and we're not going to be quiet. Back on Earth, Admiral Gino sat in a secure conference room with his top officers. On the screen in front of them was a map of the galaxy, covered in red markers. These are Council military installations, Gino explained. Fleet bases, weapons platforms, sensor arrays. Captain Yuna's teams have been mapping them for the past 3 months. One of the officers spoke up. Sir, there are thousands of them. Even with our new weapons, we can't fight the entire Council military. We're not going to fight them, Gino said. Not directly. Look at these blue markers. New icons appeared on the map. These are quantum fuel stations. The Council's entire civilization runs on quantum fuel. Every ship, every station, every colony depends on it. And the fuel comes from only 12 production facilities in the entire galaxy. The room fell silent as the officers realized what Gino was suggesting. We're going to take control of the fuel network. Jinho continued. Not destroy it. Control it. Without firing a shot, if possible. Once we control the fuel, we control everything. That's insane, sir, another officer said. The fuel stations are the most heavily defended installations in the galaxy. They're defended against fleets and armies, Gino said. They're not defended against ships they can't see. Ships that can appear out of nowhere, complete their mission, and vanish before anyone knows they were there. Captain Yuna's face appeared on one of the screens. She was transmitting from somewhere in deep space. Admiral, my teams are in position. We have eyes on 6 of the 12 fuel production facilities. The Council's security is exactly as we predicted. They're not expecting an attack from an enemy they think they've contained. Good work, Captain. Hold position and wait for my signal. Understood, sir. One question, though. Yes? When are we going to stop pretending to cooperate? The galaxy thinks we're beaten. When do we show them the truth? Jinho smiled coldly. Soon, Captain. Very soon. At the Council headquarters on Nexus Prime. The crystal being that served as Council leader was receiving reports from its intelligence officers. The human evacuation is proceeding as ordered, one officer reported. Their military has returned to the Sol system. Their colonies are being abandoned. All indicators suggest full compliance. And their emotional state? The Council leader asked. Defeated, demoralized. Ambassador Hannah Park has submitted several more petitions asking the Council to reconsider, but they're obviously just for show. The humans have accepted their fate. The Council leader felt satisfied. It had expected more resistance from humanity. Their history suggested they were violent and unpredictable. But apparently, when faced with overwhelming force, they knew when to surrender. Continue monitoring, but reduce surveillance resources. The human situation is resolved. We have other matters that require attention. The officer bowed and left. The Council leader turned its attention to other business, completely unaware of what was actually happening in human space. On a hidden asteroid base in the outer Sol system, engineer Minho Bay was putting the final touches on his greatest creation. The Ghost Drive had been impressive, but this was something else entirely. He called it the Quantum Mine. It's ready, he told Admiral Gino over a secure channel. I've tested it 3 times. It works perfectly. Explain it to me again, Gino said. When a ship travels faster than light, it's moving through a different layer of space. The quantum mine doesn't explode like a regular mine. Instead, it destabilizes that layer. Any ship passing through the affected area gets scattered. Scattered where? Random locations within 1,000 light years. The ships won't be destroyed, but they'll be separated from each other. Their navigation systems will be scrambled, and it will take them weeks or months to regroup. Jinho nodded slowly. So if a Council fleet came to attack Earth... we could scatter them across half the galaxy before they even knew what happened. How many do we have? 247. Enough to protect the entire Sol system and create barriers around strategic locations. Good. Deploy them. I want Earth protected before we make our next move. All across human space, pieces were moving into position. Ships that the Council thought were destroyed were actually hidden in deep space. Colonies that were supposed to be evacuated were actually fortified and armed. Weapons that shouldn't exist were being manufactured by the thousands. Ambassador, Hannah sat in her office on Earth and reviewed the latest reports. Everything was going according to plan. The Council had no idea what was coming. Her communicator buzzed. It was Jinho. We're ready, he said simply. Already? I thought we needed another month. Plans change. The Council just announced they're sending an inspection fleet to Sol next week. They want to verify that we've evacuated the outer colonies. What do? We show them exactly what they want to see. We let them inspect empty colonies. We smile and cooperate. And while they're here, Captain Yuna's teams will be seizing control of the fuel network. Hannah felt her heart racing. This is it then. Once we control the fuel, There's no going back. There was no going back the moment they voted against us, Chinyo said quietly. We're just making sure they understand what that vote actually meant. They're going to call it an act of war. They already declared war on us when they ordered our colonies to die. We're just fighting back in a way they didn't expect. Jinho paused. Are you ready for this, Hana? She thought about the vote, about standing in that crystal chamber while 47 species condemned humanity to extinction, about the fear and disgust in their eyes. Yes, she said. I'm ready. Good, because in 72 hours, the galaxy is going to learn what happens when you back humans into a corner. The Council thought humanity was retreating. They thought Earth was complying with the quarantine. They thought they had won. They were wrong about everything. The first sign that something was wrong came when Trade Convoy 7 Alpha simply vanished. The convoy consisted of 12 massive cargo ships traveling from the Draken system to Council headquarters. They were carrying essential supplies for 17 different species. The ships had the most advanced tracking systems in the galaxy. Every 30 minutes, they sent automated status updates. At 0600 hours, the convoy sent its regular update. Everything was normal. At 0630 hours, nothing. No update, no signal. No distress call. Council space traffic. Control tried to contact them. Silence. They sent emergency. Signals. Nothing. They checked every communication channel. The convoy had simply disappeared. A search and rescue fleet was dispatched immediately. They arrived at the convoy's last known location and found empty space. No debris, no bodies, no evidence of what had happened. It was like the 12 ships had been erased from existence. The Council leader was informed. It ordered the incident classified as a navigation malfunction. Probably the ship's quantum drives had failed, sending them off course. They would turn up eventually. 1 week later, another convoy disappeared. Then a supply station went dark. Then a military patrol vanished without a trace. The Council couldn't classify it as navigation problems anymore. Something was happening. Someone was attacking Council assets. But who and how? Captain Yuna Choi stood on the bridge of the Shadowrunner and watched through her view screen as a Council military patrol passed less than 1,000 meters away. Her ship was completely invisible to their sensors. They had no idea she was there. All teams report ready, her tactical officer said. Weapons locked on target, another officer confirmed. Yuna studied the Council ships. 3 destroyers, well-armed and crewed by experienced soldiers. They were patrolling a fuel transport route, protecting the quantum fuel shipments that kept the galaxy running. After today, this route would belong to humanity. Engage, Yuna ordered. The Shadowrunner decloaked for exactly 3 seconds. Its railguns fired, precise shots that disabled the Council ship's engines and weapons without destroying them. Before the Council crews could even understand what was happening, the Shadowrunner vanished again. This is Captain Yuna Choi of Earth, she broadcast to the disabled ships. Your ships are damaged, but intact. Your crew is alive. You can send a distress signal and rescue will arrive in approximately 6 hours. Tell your Council this message. You voted for this. Then the Shadowrunner jumped to quantum speed and disappeared, leaving the confused and terrified Council crews behind. This same scenario played out across the galaxy over the next month. Human ships would appear, strike military or infrastructure targets with surgical precision, deliver their message, and vanish. No Council sensors could track them. No Council ships could catch them. The galaxy was slowly realizing that humanity had not gone quietly into quarantine. Instead, they had become ghosts. Admiral Gino received reports from all 20 teams operating in Council space. Every mission was a success. 0 human casualties. Minimal alien casualties. Maximum psychological impact. The Council is panicking, Dr. Taye reported during a secure conference call. Their intelligence services are flooded with reports of ghost ships. Ships that appear and disappear. Ships that can't be tracked. They're calling it impossible. Good, Jinho said. Keep them confused. What's the status of the fuel network? We now control access to 8 of the 12 quantum fuel production facilities. The Council doesn't know we control them because we haven't disrupted normal operations. But we're monitoring everything. We know exactly how much fuel goes where, which means we know their fleet movements before they make them, Jinho said with satisfaction. Commander Doyoon Shin, the tactical specialist, brought up a galaxy map. Sir, the Council is starting to adapt. They're increasing security at all strategic locations. They're traveling in larger groups. They're changing their patterns. Let them, Jinho said. Larger groups just mean bigger targets. Changed patterns mean they're reactive instead of proactive. They're playing defense, and we choose where to attack. Admiral, there's something else, Doyoon continued. The Council is assembling a response fleet. Intelligence suggests it's going to be the largest military force ever gathered. They're planning to come to Earth. The room fell silent. This was the moment they had been preparing for. Size of the fleet? Jinho asked calmly. Over 3,000 ships. Every major Council species is contributing. They're calling it Operation Final Solution. Someone in the room laughed bitterly at the name. Humans knew their history. They knew what final solution meant. Let them come, Jinho said quietly. We'll be ready. At Council headquarters, the crystal being who led the Council stood before a gathering of military commanders from across the galaxy. The mood was tense. This human infestation must be eliminated, the Council leader declared. They mock our authority. They attack our ships with impunity. They refuse to accept their containment. Therefore, we will go to their home system and end their rebellion permanently. One of the commanders, a reptilian species known for military expertise, raised a concern. Council leader, we still don't understand their technology. How do they hide from our sensors? How do they move so quickly? If we don't understand their capabilities, how can we fight them? It doesn't matter, the Council leader said. They are one species. We are 47. They have one system. We have thousands. Numbers will overwhelm any technological advantage. Another commander spoke up. What about the fuel network? We've lost contact with several facilities. Nothing critical, but it's concerning. Minor disruptions. We have redundancies. The fuel network is too large and too complex for humans to seriously threaten. The Council leader's crystal body glowed brighter. The fleet will depart in 2 weeks. We will arrive at Earth, disable their defenses, and force their surrender. Any questions? There were none. The commanders believed in the plan because they had no choice. The alternative was to admit that a single quarantine species had made the entire Council look weak. Back on Earth, Engineer Minho was working with a team of 500 technicians. They were installing the quantum mines around the Sol system in a specific pattern. The Council fleet will likely approach from the galactic core, Minho explained to his team. That's the shortest route and the most obvious path. So we put 70% of our mines there. What if they come from a different direction? Someone asked. Then we activate the defensive grid. Either way, if they come looking for a fight, they're going to be very surprised. Minho smiled. The Council has been in power for 10,000 years. They're used to enemies who fight the same way they do. Big fleets. Direct combat. Honorable warfare. They have no idea how to fight an enemy like us. What makes us different? The technician asked. We don't care about honor. We care about winning. Minho pulled up a simulation on his screen. When their fleet arrives, we're not going to meet them in glorious battle. We're going to scatter them across 100 star systems and pick them off one by one. By the time they regroup, we'll control everything they need to function as a civilization. The Council fleet departed right on schedule. 3,000 ships, the pride of the galactic military, traveling together toward Earth. The crews were confident. The commanders were certain. This would be a quick operation. The humans would see the fleet, understand they were outmatched, and surrender. Captain Yuna watched the fleet's departure from her hidden position near Council headquarters. Shadowrunner to Admiral Jino, the fleet is moving. They're following exactly the path we predicted. Confirmed, Captain. Return to Earth. I want every ship in position when they arrive. Yes, sir? One question, though. Go ahead. After we scatter their fleet, what's the next step? Then we deliver our terms. We show them that we haven't been fighting to destroy the Council. We've been fighting to make them respect us. Once they understand that, once they realize they can't win, we negotiate. And if they don't want to negotiate? Jinho's voice was cold. Then we show them that our restraint so far has been a choice, not a limitation. The Council fleet traveled for 2 weeks, completely unaware that human ships shadowed them the entire way, invisible, patient, waiting. When the fleet finally dropped out of quantum speed near Earth, they found themselves facing a single ship broadcasting on all channels. Ambassador Hannah's face appeared on every Council view screen. Welcome to Earth, she said calmly. You've made a long journey. Before you proceed any further, I want to give you one chance to turn around. On the Council flagship, the crystal being who commanded the fleet laughed. Surrender, human. You are outnumbered 3,000 to 1. Am I? Hannah asked. Look closer. Behind the Council fleet, space rippled. One by one, human ships decloaked. Not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands of ships, each one bristling with weapons the Council had never seen. The Council commander's confidence wavered. This is impossible. You don't have this many ships. You've been watching us for a year, Hannah said. You saw what you wanted to see. You saw us retreating, surrendering, going away. You forgot that humans are very good at making you believe what we want you to believe. It doesn't matter. The commander shouted. We still outnumber you. Numbers won't save you, Hannah said. I'm transmitting coordinates to you now. These coordinates show the locations of your scattered fleet after we activate our quantum mines. I'm giving you this information before the battle, so you'll know we could have killed you all, but chose not to. We're not monsters. We're not trying to destroy the Council. We just want you to understand something very important. What's that? The commander asked. That you never should have voted against Earth. Engineer Minho activated the mines. The Council fleet scattered across 70 different star systems in an instant. Ships that had been flying in formation suddenly found themselves alone in empty space. Their navigation systems scrambled, their quantum drives damaged. Some ships were thrown 500 light years away from their original position. Others ended up in unexplored regions of space that it took the Council 3 months just to find all their ships. By that time, the galaxy had changed completely. Dr. Tejo stood in the control center for the quantum fuel network and watched data flow across dozens of screens. Every fuel shipment, every transport, every station was now under human monitoring. The Council didn't know it yet, but humanity controlled the lifeblood of galactic civilization. Status? He asked his team. All 12 production facilities are now secured. We've placed monitoring systems in every major fuel depot. The Council is still operating normally because we're not interfering with regular operations. But we could shut down any system in the galaxy within hours if needed. How long before they figure it out? Honestly, sir, they might never figure it out unless we want them to. We're not blocking anything. We're just watching, listening, controlling access without them knowing. Tai-Ho nodded. Keep it that way. The Admiral will decide when to reveal our position. While the Council scrambled to recover from the fleet disaster, smaller species within the Council began to take notice of what was happening. For thousands of years, they had been dominated by the major powers. They followed orders, paid tribute, and kept quiet. But watching humanity openly defy the Council and survive showed them something new was possible. Diplomat Sori Jiang sat in a quiet cafe on a neutral station, meeting with a representative from the Kelmer people. The Kelmer were a peaceful species who specialized in agriculture. They had been council members for 2,000 years, but had never held any real power. The Kelmer representative, a small being with soft fur and large eyes, spoke nervously. My government sent me to make discreet contact with Earth. We cannot do this officially, you understand. I understand, Sori said gently. What does your government want? To thank you. Sori blinked in surprise. Thank us? For 50 years, the major species have demanded increasing food quotas from our worlds. They take 80% of our production and leave us barely enough to feed our own people. We complained to the Council many times. They ignored us every time. The Kelmer's eyes showed sadness. When they voted against Earth, they said it was about safety, about protecting the galaxy. But we knew the truth. They feared you because you wouldn't obey blindly like the rest of us. So how does humanity fighting back help you? Sori asked. 2 weeks ago, the major species demanded another quota increase. 20% more food, immediately. We said it was impossible. They threatened to send warships. The Kelmer paused. Then your people contacted us privately. You offered to delay the warships. Give us time to negotiate better terms. Sori smiled. And did you negotiate better terms? Yes. For the first time in centuries, the major powers actually listened to us. They need their warships to deal with you. They can't afford to waste resources bullying smaller species anymore. The Kelmer leaned forward. Our government wants to establish formal relations with Earth. We're not the only ones. At least 15 species are ready to support you in the Council. The Council expelled us. We're not members. Not officially. But everyone knows you're about to force them to reconsider. When you do, you'll need allies inside the Council. Species who will vote for you instead of against you. Sori took a sip of her tea and considered this. What do you want in return? Fair trade agreements, protection from exploitation, and proof that humanity isn't just replacing one bully with another. We're not bullies, Sori said firmly. We just want to be left alone to live our lives. But when someone tries to destroy us, we defend ourselves. That's what we hoped you would say. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. Species that had never dared challenge the major powers were suddenly finding their voices. The Council's unity was cracking dot at Council headquarters. The crystal being who led the Council was facing a crisis. Its personal chambers were filled with angry representatives from the major species. How did this happen? Demanded the reptilian military commander. We sent 3,000 ships. 3,000. And they were scattered like dust. The human technology is more advanced than we estimated, the Council leader admitted. More advanced? Another representative, a floating mass of gas held together by electromagnetic fields, pulsed angrily. They have weapons we can't even understand. They control space in ways that shouldn't be possible. And worst of all, they're turning the smaller species against us. The smaller species are irrelevant, the Council leader said. They have no military power. They have votes, the gas being pointed out. If enough of them side with humanity, they could block any Council decision. They could protect Earth from any sanctions we try to impose. Then we force Earth to surrender through other means, the council leader said. Cut off their trade. Isolate them diplomatically. Make it clear that defying the council has consequences. We already tried to isolate them, the military commander said. That's what started this whole situation. Every attempt to contain humanity has made things worse. Then what do you suggest? The council leader asked coldly. The military commander hesitated. Negotiate? Absolutely not. We are the Galactic Council. We do not negotiate with rebels. They're not rebels. They were never part of the council to begin with. We rejected them, remember? The commander pulled up data on a screen. Look at these reports. In the 3 months since we tried to destroy their fleet, human ships have been everywhere. They've secured strategic locations across the galaxy. They've made contact with dozens of minor species. They've demonstrated military superiority without killing anyone unnecessarily. And most importantly, they now control the quantum fuel network. The room fell silent. What do you mean they control the fuel network? The council leader asked slowly. Our intelligence services finally figured it out. Those fuel facility disruptions we experienced? That was humans installing monitoring and control systems. They can see every fuel shipment. They can track every ship movement. They can shut down any system they want, whenever they want. The council leader's crystal body flickered with anger. This is unacceptable. We must take back control immediately. How? The commander asked. The facilities are still operating. Nothing seems different. But our best technical teams have analyzed the situation. The human modifications are so sophisticated that removing them would shut down the entire network for months, maybe years. The galaxy would collapse into chaos. So we do nothing? No. We do what we should have done originally. We negotiate. We give Earth what they want: full council membership, equal status, and an end to the quarantine. In exchange, they stop their military operations and help stabilize the situation they've created. They'll see it as surrender, the council leader said bitterly. It is surrender, the commander said bluntly. We lost this war the moment we underestimated them. Now we need to end it before things get worse. On Earth, Admiral Gino was meeting with his senior staff and the human political leadership. They were discussing terms for potential negotiations. The council is fracturing, Captain Yuna reported. Our intelligence assets report constant arguments among the major powers. The smaller species are increasingly bold in supporting us. We've achieved our strategic objectives. What are our casualties? The Earth President asked. In 6 months of operations, we've lost 3 ships and 17 personnel. Council casualties are estimated at less than 500, mostly from accidents during the fleet scattering, not from direct combat. The President nodded with relief. So we've won a war without really fighting one. That was always the plan, Gino said. We demonstrated military superiority without becoming the monsters the Council feared we would become. What happens now? The President asked. Now we wait for them to ask for negotiations. It should be soon. The longer this continues, the weaker the Council looks to the galaxy. They need to restore their authority, and the only way to do that is to bring us into the fold. Ambassador Hana spoke up from her position. I've been contacted by 14 species offering to sponsor our membership petition. That's enough votes to override the major powers if they try to block us again. Will they block us? The President asked. I don't think so, Hannah said. They're desperate to end this situation. They'll agree to our terms. And what are our terms? The President asked. Admiral Gino pulled up a document. Full Council membership with equal status. No probationary period. No restrictions on our military or colonial expansion. And most importantly, a seat on the Security Council with veto power. They'll never agree to the veto power, someone objected. They will, Jinho said confidently, because the alternative is we keep the fuel network under our control, and their civilization slowly crumbles as systems break down and can't be repaired. That's blackmail, the president said. Yes, but it's also justice. They tried to destroy us. We survived. Now they pay the price for that mistake. 1 week later, Ambassador Hannah received an official communication from the Council headquarters. The Council leader requested her presence for urgent discussions regarding mutual concerns. Hannah read the message and smiled. They're ready to talk. Are you ready? Jinho asked. I've been ready for this conversation for 50 years, Hannah said. I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. She traveled to Council headquarters with a small delegation. The same crystal chamber where Earth had been rejected now held a very different meeting. The Council leader sat alone, without the other representatives present. Ambassador Park, the crystal being said. We need to discuss the current situation, do we? Hannah asked innocently. I thought the situation was resolved. You voted against Earth. We left. What more is there to discuss? The Council leader's body flickered with what might have been annoyance. You know exactly what there is to discuss. Your military actions. Your control of strategic assets. Your destabilization of Council authority. Oh, that, Hannah said. You mean the actions we took to defend ourselves after you sentenced 300 million humans to death? Those actions? We gave you time to evacuate. 1 year to move 300 million people? You knew it was impossible. You voted for genocide and called it policy. The Council leader was silent for a long moment. What does Earth want? I'm glad you asked, Hannah said, pulling out a data tablet. Let's talk about that. The negotiations had been going on for 2 weeks. Ambassador Hannah sat across from the Council leader and various representatives from the major species. They argued over details, debated terms, and slowly worked toward an agreement. Earth's demands were clear. Full Council membership, equal status, and a seat on the Security Council. The major species resisted, especially the Security Council seat. They offered compromises. They suggested probationary periods. They tried to find ways to bring Earth in without giving them too much power. Hannah refused every compromise. She knew Earth held all the cards. The Council needed this agreement more than humanity did. But while the negotiations continued, a secret faction within the Council made a desperate decision. Deep in a classified facility, 3 representatives from the hardline species met in secret. The crystal being who led the Council was not among them. These 3 had voted against Earth from the beginning, and they refused to accept defeat. The negotiations are a mistake, one of them hissed. It was a reptilian species known for military power. We're giving these humans everything they want. In 10 years, they'll dominate the Council completely. We need to end this permanently, another agreed. This one was an insectoid species that specialized in biological sciences. I propose we use the Genesis virus. The 3rd representative, a being made of living metal, recoiled. That's forbidden. The Council banned biological weapons 3,000 years ago. The Council also banned genocide, but we voted to let 300 million humans die, the reptilian pointed out. We're past the point of following rules. If we don't stop humanity now, they'll destroy everything we've built. The Genesis virus is undetectable until symptoms appear, the insectoid explained. We can deliver it to Earth within days. By the time they realize what's happening, billions will be infected. The virus is species-specific. It will only affect humans. And then what? The metal being asked. We become mass murderers? We become survivors, the reptilian said. This is necessary. The Council leadership is weak. They're willing to surrender to these primitives. We're not. The virus will be deployed tomorrow. The humans will all be dead within 6 months. The problem will be solved. And if we're discovered, we won't be. The virus is completely untraceable. No one will know it wasn't a natural plague. What these three didn't know was that Captain Yuna's intelligence network had penetrated deep into Council security. Every communication was monitored. Every secret meeting was recorded. Within hours of the decision, Admiral Gino received a full report of the conspiracy. He sat in his office on Earth and read the details 3 times, barely able to believe what he was seeing. They were actually going to try it. After everything that had happened, after all the demonstrations of human capability, the hardliners were going to attempt genocide. He immediately contacted Dr. Taiho. "Did you see the intelligence report?" "Yes, I'm already working on it. Can we stop the virus?" "We don't need to stop it. We already have it." Jinho blinked in confusion. "What? The Genesis virus isn't new. It was developed 600 years ago during the Council's expansion wars. We found records of it in our intelligence gathering. 3 months ago, I had a team acquire a sample from a classified research station, just in case something like this happened. You've had the virus for 3 months, and we've been studying it intensely. We've already developed a complete countermeasure, not just for the current version, but for any possible variation of it. If they deploy the virus, we can neutralize it before it infects a single person." Jinho felt relief wash over him. "Good, but I want more than just defense. I want to turn this into our final victory." "What do you have in mind?" "They're trying to commit genocide. We're going to catch them in the act, prove it to the galaxy, and use it to destroy their credibility forever." "Can you track the virus deployment?" "Easily. We'll know the exact moment they try to release it." "Perfect. Let them try. Let them think it's working. And then we reveal everything." 2 days later, a Council transport ship entered the Sol system on a routine supply run. It carried food, medical supplies, and spare parts for the human ships that were still officially quarantined in their home system. The Council maintained these supply runs to avoid accusations of attempting to starve Earth. What the transport also carried was a container of Genesis virus hidden in the cargo bay. The virus was designed to be released into Earth's atmosphere to the planet's orbital stations. The transport docked at Earth's main orbital platform. Automated systems began unloading cargo. Within the containers, timing devices activated. In 6 hours, the virus would be released. Captain Yuna watched from a monitoring station. "The virus containers are aboard the platform. Shall we neutralize them?" "Not yet," Gino said. "I want to catch them actually attempting to deploy it. Make sure we have every communication recorded, every person involved identified. I want proof that's absolutely undeniable." 5 hours later, the containers activated. Virus particles began spreading through the station's air circulation system. Within minutes, they would reach Earth's atmosphere. Dr. Taiho activated the countermeasure. Nanobots that had been quietly deployed throughout Earth's atmosphere and orbital stations for the past month suddenly activated. They sought out and neutralized every single virus particle in seconds. "Virus neutralized," Taiho reported. "Not a single human was infected." "Excellent. Now let's show the galaxy what just happened." Ambassador Hana was still in negotiations with the Council when Admiral Jinho's face suddenly appeared on every screen in the chamber. The Council representatives looked confused. "I apologize for the interruption," Jinho said calmly, "but something has come up that requires immediate attention. 6 hours ago, a Council transport delivered a biological weapon to Earth. The weapon was the Genesis virus, banned by Council law for 3,000 years. The virus was designed to kill every human on Earth. It has been deployed." The chamber erupted in chaos. The Council leader's crystal body flashed bright red. "This is impossible. We would never let me finish, Jinho interrupted. His voice cut through the noise like a knife. The virus was deployed by a conspiracy involving 3 council members. We have complete records of their communications, their planning, and their execution of the attack. We're transmitting that evidence to every species in the galaxy right now. Screens throughout the galaxy suddenly displayed the secret meetings, the communications, the deployment orders. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds watched in horror as the conspiracy unfolded before their eyes. The virus has been neutralized, Jinho continued. Not a single human was harmed. We detected it the moment it arrived and neutralized it before it could spread. But that's not the important part. The important part is that members of your council just attempted genocide against an entire species. They did it in secret. They did it against council law. They did it while Ambassador Hana was here negotiating in good faith. The 3 conspirators tried to flee the council chambers. They were stopped by council security at the door. We didn't just neutralize the virus. Dr. Tayo's voice joined Jinho's broadcast. We've also developed a universal countermeasure. The Genesis virus was designed to be adaptable, to work against any species. Our countermeasure works against any variation of the virus. We're now offering this countermeasure freely to every species in the galaxy. No cost, no strings attached. We're making sure this weapon can never be used against anyone ever again. The silence in the council chamber was absolute. Jinho's expression was cold. Now, let's talk about Earth's position in the council. Here are our terms, and they're no longer negotiable. Full membership, equal status, Security Council seat with veto power. And one more thing. The 3 species responsible for this attack are expelled from the Aztec Council leadership for 100 years. They keep their basic membership, but they have no voice in council decisions until they've proven they can be trusted again. The council leader looked at the evidence, looked at the 3 conspirators being held by security, and looked at the faces of the minor species representatives who were watching this unfold. For the first time in thousands of years, the major powers had no leverage. The council will vote on your terms tomorrow, the crystal being said quietly. No, Jinho said. The council will vote today. Right now. We've waited long enough. Ambassador Hana stood up. She looked at each council member in turn. 2 years ago, I stood in this chamber and you voted to destroy us. You voted 43-0 against Earth. You tried to condemn billions of people to death. And when we survived, when we fought back, when we proved we were stronger than you expected, you tried to murder us with a biological weapon. She paused, letting her words sink in. But we didn't become the monsters you feared. We didn't destroy your worlds. We didn't kill your people. We fought with restraint. We targeted military and economic assets, not civilians. We demonstrated our power without abusing it. And when you tried to genocide us, we responded by creating a cure and giving it to everyone for free. We're not asking to join the council because we need you. We're offering to join because the galaxy needs us. Because we bring something you've been missing. The ability to stand up to those who abuse power. The ability to fight for what's right, even when the odds are against us. The ability to survive anything you throw at us and come back stronger. She sat down. Vote. The council leader called for the vote. Lights appeared above each representative's seat. Blue. Blue. The smaller species voted first, showing their support immediately. Then some of the mid-level powers joined them. Even some of the major species, seeing which way the wind was blowing, voted in favor. The final count appeared, 41 votes in favor, 3 votes against. 3 abstentions. Earth was now a full member of the Galactic Council. The 3 conspirators were formally expelled from leadership positions. Their species would remain in the council, but their influence was destroyed. Other species would remember what they tried to do. The negotiations continued for another week, but now they were about implementation details, not basic terms. Earth got everything they wanted. The quarantine was lifted. Human colonies were recognized as legitimate. Earth received a permanent seat on the Security Council. 6 months later, Ambassador Hana stood in her new office on Council headquarters. The view overlooked the main assembly hall, where decisions affecting trillions of beings were made. Admiral Jingho came to visit her. "How does it feel?" he asked. "Strange. 2 years ago, we were outcasts. Now we're power brokers. Do you think they'll ever trust us?" "No," Hannah said honestly. "They'll always remember that we're the species that defied them, that fought them, that proved their fears were justified." "But," Jingho prompted, "but they'll respect us. They'll work with us. They'll think twice before threatening us again." She smiled slightly. Fear and respect aren't so different sometimes. They stood in silence for a moment, watching council members arrive for the day's session. Human representatives now sat among them as equals. "Was it worth it?" Hana asked. "All those lives we risked? All those battles we fought?" Jingho considered the question carefully. "They voted against Earth. They tried to make us disappear. They believed we would just accept their judgment and die quietly. They forgot that humans don't work that way. When you back us into a corner, when you threaten our existence, we don't surrender. We adapt. We innovate. We fight. And we win." "Sounds like you're giving a speech. Maybe I am. But it's the truth. The Council made a decision 2 years ago. They ruled against Earth. They thought it would be a simple matter of containment and control." He looked at her. "It was their last and deadliest error. They pushed humanity to the edge, and we pushed back hard enough to change the entire galaxy." Outside, a human patrol ship flew past the Council headquarters. It was joined by ships from a dozen other species, all working together to protect galactic trade routes. The ghost fleet that had terrified the Council now served as its primary rapid response force. Engineer Minho's quantum drive technology was being shared with other species, improving travel times across the galaxy. Dr. Tejo's research facilities were collaborating with alien scientists on projects that benefited everyone. Captain Yuna's intelligence network had been partially integrated with Council security, helping prevent threats before they emerged. Earth hadn't just joined the Galactic Council. It had transformed it. Diplomat Sori arrived with reports from the Minor Species Alliance. The Kelmer want to establish a trade university on Earth. The Dravik are asking for help modernizing their fleet. The Talman are requesting human advisors for their government reforms. Hana reviewed the requests, approved them all. "We're not just here to take our seat at the table. We're here to make the galaxy better. Some species are worried we're becoming too influential too quickly," Sori warned. "Let them worry," Jingho said. "They had 10,000 years to get this right. They created a galaxy where the strong exploited. The weak, where fear ruled instead of cooperation, where voting against someone meant trying to erase them from existence. We're here to change that. And if they resist?" Sori asked. "They won't," Hannah said confidently, "because they know what happens when they underestimate humanity. They learned that lesson very thoroughly." Admiral Jingho left the office and walked through the Council headquarters. Alien beings of every shape and size filled the corridors. Some nodded respectfully as he passed. Others stared with barely concealed fear. A few even looked at him with something like admiration. He thought about the journey that brought them here. The rejection, the quarantine order, the hidden preparations, the Ghost Fleet campaign, the fuel network seizure, the biological weapon attack. Every step had been necessary. Every risk had paid off. The Council had ruled against Earth. They had made their vote thinking it would end humanity's influence in galactic affairs. Instead, it had been the beginning of humanity's rise to power. Their last and deadliest error was believing that a vote could contain the human spirit. They knew better now. The entire galaxy knew better, and they would never forget.